Well, I was seeing my partner this past weekend, so I didn't cover Disney Plus Day announcements when they happened. So let's catch up on them really quick. And I do mean quick. I'm probably not going to have a ton to say about most of these, and I'm not technically going to cover every single thing that was announced. Basically, when I went through the list of everything that was announced or confirmed or some kind of information came out on, I basically decided as I went through, well, if I didn't at least stop and go, huh, okay, then I'm not covering it at all because it basically had zero impact on me. And even some of the things I'm going to talk about, I may not have much to say. First up, ObiWan. So we got confirmation on the series is moving forward. No teaser, no photos yet. We did get some concept art, which does actually concern me slightly. And this is probably the one I'm going to end up spending the most time talking about. And that is because the concept art featured one Darth Vader. And the idea of Darth Vader showing up in the Obi-Wan show, which timeline wise is meant to happen between episodes 3 and 4, bothers me. And it bothers me for a couple of reasons. The first is I was always kind of on board with the idea of an Obi-Wan TV show. I mean, like, it makes sense that for however many 20 years or whatever between the fall of the Republic and when Vader eventually cut him down, that he did more than just sit around in a desert and occasionally poke in and keep an eye on Luke from a distance. Let's see some of that stuff. But the idea of integrating Vader into that, and yeah, first of all, I feel like it's going to be difficult having something that is going to feel as momentum as what happened with their battle in Mustafar, and it doesn't feel like in some way diminishing the idea of how much time had passed between the last time they'd seen each other and when they met in A New Hope. But my bigger concern is honestly, if they put a lot of emphasis on Darth Vader in this, it's going to basically turn Obi-Wan into someone whose life has no function outside of how it relates to Anakin. Like, this was the chance to show him and what he cares about, and what he gets dedicated to when he's not in the middle of a war and he does not have the Jedi around him. So the idea of bringing Vader into that, suddenly everything we ever see Obi-Wan do in some way revolves around Anakin, and it makes him not his own character. It makes him an Anakin supporting character who got a spinoff. And Obi-Wan is better than that. He deserves better than that. And I'm not going to say there aren't ways to do it properly and have it work, but the thing is, if you dedicate a significant chunk of the series to dealing with Anakin, it has that first problem I mentioned, which is to make Obi-Wan just completely dependent on Anakin to be something that exists. It's the same kind of problem I have with how many freaking stories come back to the Jedi and Sith, despite the fact that the Star Wars universe can support a heck of a lot more stuff than that. But if you do it like only in one episode, that's going to lack the momentousness that these two meeting each other again should have. I mean, it might be possible to pull off, but that's going to be a fine needle to thread. So while the concept art was good, what I saw made me nervous. We got very short 30-second teasers for a number of MCU things. We got one for Moon Knight, one for She-Hulk, and one for Ms. Marvel. They all look fine. There isn't enough to go off of there for me to get a really firm sense of knowing whether or not I am any more excited than I already was. Out of these three, She-Hulk is the one that I am most excited for because she's the character who I like the most out of these. Moon Knight's the one I know the least about, so really all I was getting off of these was mood, and the mood for all three was consistent with what I'd expect for these characters. Fine so far. I look forward to full trailers. After that, we had an announcement of SpiderMan Freshman Year, an animated series, which I'm going to basically hold almost any opinion on until I see what style of animation it's being done in. So not to put too fine a point on it, I would love to see it done in Into the Spider-Verse animation style. Probably won't be. I'm actually fairly certain Sony patented the process that they used for that. But even outside of that, just don't have it be animated the same way that frickin' What If was. Because if it is, that's honest. That honestly might kill my interest, or at the very least, is going to make it really hard for me to stick around past a first episode curiosity. So, like, and I normally don't get hung up on visuals, but when it comes to animation, the visual style you pick, it matters. It matters a lot. And until I see it, I don't know what to think about that. A little bit more about the Agatha Harkness spinoff. It's going to be Agatha, the House of Harkness. Now, I'm trying to be upbeat and optimistic about this because I do like Catherine Hahn, but I didn't like Agatha as a character, and that doesn't preclude her from being used really well. The problem for me is that Jack Schaefer, who was the showrunner on WandaVision, is the one showrunning and the primary writer for this. And that makes me nervous because, again, I don't think he used Agatha very well at all. And in fact, I don't think he should have been using her in the first place. If you don't know all my problems with this, there's a video. Check that out. I won't dwell on it here. Marvel Zombies animated series, of friggin' course. All I can say is I'm glad they're doing it as a show instead of giving it the kind of oxygen to have it be films. Maybe I'll watch one out of morbid curiosity, but I don't like Marvel Zombies. I never liked Marvel Zombies. I didn't hate the What If Marvel Zombies as much as I expected I would, given how much I hate Marvel Zombies. But, like, I didn't love it. It didn't sell me on the concept that I hate. So, that is what it is. We saw a whole bunch of logos and like single images for stuff, a lot of it Marvel related. I'm not going to dwell on any of those. X-Men 97, a continuation of the 90s X-Men cartoon. This one, I'm going to need to see a trailer to see in what way they are trying to evoke that and have it feel that way, but also hopefully feel in some way updated because harsh truth, especially for some folks my age, the 90s X-Men cartoon was not very good. The animation was mediocre at best. The voice acting was serviceable, but oftentimes grating. The stories were decent, but that was because they were largely pulling from really solid source material, but brought nothing new to the table in doing so. And if you want a point of comparison, Batman, the animated TV show, was running at the exact same time, looked better, was better voice acted, and bringing more to the Batman universe than just retelling the same stories. So, look, the theme song is a banger. I will never knock that. But other than that, I don't think that show holds up at all. I liked it at the time, but I was, 12? So, yeah. I can't get excited about this until I see how they are doing it. Now, that said, if they do a full proper update visually and it feels evocative of the original, and I know a lot of geeks they're all upset and up in arms about this, but frankly, like the visual approach and presentation of what Master of the Universe Revelation is, you know what? I'll at least give it a shot. Check it out. There's an announcement for Echo, which will be a continuation of Alakwa Cox's character, the character of Maya Lopez, who I know nothing about, is apparently appearing in Hawkeye. So they've already planned a spinoff for Hawkeye. The only thing that I have to say about that is that feels slightly cocky, but okay. Baymax is getting an animated series and had a very cute trailer. And I like the idea that it's actually a series not about the super heroics that he might be getting involved in anymore. Because I guess they did have a Big Hero 6 animated spinoff show. I never did watch it. But instead focusing on him as an actual healthcare assistant and helping people out. I think that's brilliant because I love Baymax is amazing. And that trailer did a lot to sell me on it. Because when I first saw the title, Baymax TV series, then I saw the teaser. I'm like, okay, yeah. I can see that. Cars on the Road. They're bringing back Owen Wilson, Larry the Cable Guy. Fine. I don't care about Cars. I never have. I just thought it was slightly impressive that they are bringing them back for that. But it's not my franchise. If it's your franchise or your kid's franchise that they like, cool, awesome. I won't watch it. Tiana. So there's going to be an animated spinoff with the continuing story of the lead character from The Princess and the Frog, which, couple of things about that. First thing, she's a character who could definitely support a continuation because while she certainly ended up in a good situation, she is ambitious and driven enough that you could totally, without having to break the happy ending of the movie, you could totally push her forward into new directions and get new stories out of that easily. I need to see a teaser or trailer in motion because I looked really hard at the one image that they put out of this that I found, and it looks like it's 2D animated, but the backgrounds also look kind of 3D to me. So I don't know if this is like frankly a bit like the What If style, where it's sort of 2D look stretched over 3D models, and I need to see it in motion, because if it's fully hand-drawn 2D, here for it. If they're doing some weird amalgam, please don't do that, especially not to a 2D character who was animated that beautifully. Princess and the Frog is a mixed bag, but like, her character was good and it looked gorgeous. Zootopia Plus, a series of short subjects, which is, I think, a great use of that property. Zootopia as a setting definitely lends itself to a ton of other stories, and having them be these little self-contained little bite-sized things, we can revisit some characters we've seen before, hopefully meet some new ones. I think that's a great use of the property, possibly even a better one than a proper sequel would be, because you'd be restricted to sticking with, the same characters, and since they're both cops now, presumably that same kind of story again. This allows a lot more freedom, and I'll be really curious to see what they do with it. We got an announcement for a Chippendales Rescue Rangers movie coming out in 2022, starring Andy Samberg and John Mulaney. I could not find anywhere, even in the little announcement video, them saying who is voicing who. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I kind of need to know, because in my mind, the only way this works is if Samberg is Dale and Mulaney is Chip. Doing it the other way around, I don't think that works. Also, we don't know what the animation style is on this yet. Again, I am hoping for 2D animated, but since they're claiming it's a movie and not a series, I will not be shocked if this ends up being fully 3D rendered. How little 2D animation is coming out of Disney at this point? It's basically a handful of their TV shows. It's really starting to bum me out. Hocus Pocus 2 confirmed for fall of 2022. Had a first image. All three still look good in the costumes. I honestly don't care that much about Hocus Pocus. Didn't at the time. I was probably a year, maybe 2 years too old for the darn thing. But I know a lot of people are hyped for it. I hope they like it. And they're bringing it out in the fall, closer to Halloween this time, as opposed to releasing it in freaking summer like they did last time, which was stupid. Apparently, there's going to be a live-action Pinocchio coming out next year, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And they are saying live action, which, given Robert Zemeckis' inclination towards CGI these days, I'll be really surprised if at the very least the puppet version of Pinocchio is not CGI. It's got a fairly impressive cast list, the big name being Tom Hanks, but, can we be honest? I haven't rewatched Disney's Pinocchio, in a long time. I don't know how well it holds up, but there has never been a good live action-y version of this story. And I kind of think that at this point there have been so many failures at that maybe just don't. That having been said, you know what? If they want to start relegating the live action remakes strictly to Disney Plus and not burden theaters with them, that's good. It brings it closer to the home video life that concept deserves, because I still hate it in principle. What else we got? Oh, apparently Disney remembered that when they acquired Fox, they got hold of the Ice Age franchise. So now there is going to be a Disney Plus movie, Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. That's coming out in January next year, so actually pretty soon. And they are getting Simon Pegg back. I think I saw him in Collision? I forget. I saw one of the Ice Age that had him in it. I haven't seen all the Ice Age movies. I don't want to see all the Ice Age movies. But he definitely has a lot of fun with the part. He's very energetic. It's one of the more memorable parts. So yeah, sure. Makes sense if you're going to do something with that. Disenchanted, the sequel to Enchanted, is now confirmed as a Disney Plus release coming out next year. I really feel like they're going to severely screw this up, because I don't know how you do a continuation that doesn't, well, I know ways that you can do it that it doesn't do this, but knowing the standard way to follow up on a story that ended like that is to have, and especially with a title like Disenchantment, really just seems like they're going to take Giselle and have her no longer be the bubbly thing, and like the real world has ground her down. And the very notion of that feels like it misses the entire freaking point of the original, or at least part of the point. So until I see a trailer, I won't know for sure. But based on the title, I'm still like, ugh. And finally, last thing I'm going to talk about, Willow had sort of a meet the cast video that was very strange. So, like, it had Warwick Davis, like, introducing the other actors in it, but it was in this weird comedic self-deprecating tone where Davis was a little bit of a dick and the actors were kind of like talking about how old he was, and some of them even acting like they didn't realize this project they were in was based on a movie. It was this weird, slightly mean comedic tone, and I don't know why. It's not like that's reflective of the tone of the movie, and I sure as heck hope it's not reflective of the tone of this show. Cause like I liked Willow, and I've been curious to see what they would do for a follow-up, but what was that? That was weird. I guess they thought we have to do something to liven up the interest rather than just have it be a hey meet the cast thing. But the way they chose to do it's just like that's weird, man. That's the last thing I'm going to talk about. That's Disney Plus Day announcements. My thoughts on them. What do you think about them? What do you think about any of the stuff that I didn't talk about? There's a lot of that too. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. I have a Patreon. That is how I pay my bills. Any amount you're able to help is of great assistance. Even if you can't, all the other stuff helps me out as well. But do not sweat it. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back next time you need a break. Hey, if you're sticking around through the credits, might as well hear some names read out. My Patreon helps support this, and in particular, I want to thank Raven McBain, Bookworm, MJ, Tracy Scrabbit, Vincent Paul Bartolucci, Kaylin Schwartz, Edalyn, Robin Moore, Ross Schultz, Shayla Gourlay. Want to hear me mispronounce your name? Check out the rewards on the Patreon.